Let's keep going. We're still how
Sure.
far are we through our message?
About half, haven't we? It's a bit faster now. I think we've explained the basics.
Yeah.
The soul is the real man because it is the only thing or part of man that may become immortal. The only part of man that was made in the image of its creator, and the only part of man that may become a part of the substance of its maker and partake of his divine nature. I say may, for that is an important part of this great possibility. I know this possibility of the soul becoming immortal by partaking of the divine nature of God is true, for it is a proven fact, in the case of many souls who are now in the celestial heavens. I also know that there are many souls in the spirit world who have been there for many centuries who have never received this divine nature and consciousness of immortality. Whether such souls who have not received this divine nature shall become or are immortal has never been demonstrated. This I do know, that in the economy of God's plan for the forming of his kingdom, at some time, when I don't know, this privilege of partaking of his divine nature and the certainty of immortality will be withdrawn from the souls of men and spirits. And then, whether these souls who suffer this condemnation will partake of immortality, no spirit knows, only God.
Yeah, wow. So
Now, most
go
people are pretty
back.
confronted by a paragraph like that.
yes. So
lots
let's
of different
go
reasons.
back and break it down.
Yeah.
So right at the start of the paragraph, you said, the soul is the real man because it is the only thing or part of man that may become immortal.
Yes.
So if the soul is the only thing capable of immortality, does this mean that the life of the physical and spiritual bodies, that life will surely end? Because they cannot become immortal.
Well, what is not known is the effect of an immortal soul connected to a physical or material body or a spirit body, and how long those bodies may be able to sustain themselves with a soul that is immortal connected to them. So questions like that as yet cannot be fully answered because there's no experience yet to measure the results by. We can only suppose. So for example, is it possible that the physical body of a person who is immortal in the soul sense can die? Well, we don't know.
Yeah, okay, so let's just backtrack a bit.
Yep.
Because here you're saying that just receiving God's love makes us immortal.
Makes us immortal.
Yeah.
But it has to receive God's love to the point of becoming at one with God.
At one with God. Yeah. So
We are then immortal.
we're then immortal.
Immortal
Our soul
meaning-
is immortal.
Our soul can never die.
Yes.
It can never be broken down into its constituent parts.
Yeah.
Just like, remember, death of the physical body is basically the physical body being broken down into its minutest constituent parts. That's what happens when we die.
Yeah.
And spiritually speaking, the spirit body may do that. We don't know, but the spirit body may do that. That is the concern of many people who are not immortal in the spirit world, who know they're not immortal. They are very worried that at some point in the future, the spirit body may die the same way the physical body died.
Yeah.
And that is the spirit body be broken down into its constituent parts. But once the soul is immortal, in other words, connected with God's love is flowing to it constantly, it's impossible, because it's received a substance from God, it now is a substance that can never go, can never pass. And so now that soul, although individualized still, it still has its own awareness of itself and so forth. It's not all of a sudden become the mind of God completely.
Yeah.
It does have its own self-awareness and everything. It itself cannot die. It cannot be destroyed, and God cannot even destroy it, because if God did, the soul, he would have to destroy a part of himself, right?
Yes.
So God cannot even destroy it. So now that soul can be said to be immortal. It is not known the effect that will have on the spirit or physical body, because you'd have to live forever
Okay.
to know what the long-term effect would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, anybody who's reached the condition of becoming immortal has not yet lived forever, because the longest person who's ever been alive in this condition is 2,000 years, and nobody has lived longer than that in that condition.
But say, for example, in the first century, you attained immortality while still in your physical body.
Yes.
Now, your physical body did die.
Yes, but because of trauma by a third party.
So it's potentially possible that the physical body, when attached to an immortal soul, will not pass.
It's only if it doesn't exceed the capacities of its original creation. So in other words, if a physical body exceeds the capacity of its original creation, even if it's attached to a immortal soul, it will die, because the physical body is only capable of so much trauma.
Yes.
And it will die.
Yes.
It's not some magical thing that is capable of all sorts of things and repair itself like the movies show.
Yeah.
It is capable of a limited amount of trauma, and it will die, right? So even though it may live forever or for a long period of time, if it did not receive trauma, sooner or later there may be trauma.
Yes.
And sooner or later it will probably die.
Yeah. But without trauma, it's potential it could live forever.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But again, that would
is...
be based upon the intention of that immortal soul. Does he want it to live forever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does he need it? He doesn't need it anymore. He doesn't need to use it. He's experiencing stuff in the soul kingdom now. He doesn't. He coming back to the earth and experiencing stuff through that body would only be advisable if you were educating.
Yes.
There's no other real reason for retaining it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And presumably with the spirit body,
same applies.
we don't really know.
There's no need for it anymore once the soul has reached immortality, but in a union state.
Because you jump to the union state immediately, and there's a lot in between.
That's right. There's so many points of development in between. Once you jump to a union state, now at the time of the writing of the Paget messages, nobody had reached the union state, so we did not discuss anything about the soul's future. There were occasional implications that we rose in the Paget messages, but we didn't discuss in detail the implications of any future state, because that was impossible to do given the fact that we hadn't reached the union state. So once the soul reaches a union state, right, which is a state which is not talked about in the Paget messages at all, because it didn't occur at the time of the Paget messages had been written. Once it reaches a union state, then it no longer really needs its spirit body either. And in fact, its spirit body may in fact be the only time it uses a spirit body is again in order to educate. And given the fact that the soul in a union state is capable of creating its own bodies, physical and material, it can create...
Spiritual and material.
Spiritual and material. It can create and destroy bodies at will.
Yes. So it is...
In order to educate.
So in that case, it may be possible that the spirit body dies. The one
original
created
one
at conception,
might die.
Might die.
And you might utilise other bodies. And in fact, I have done both of those things. I have utilised both bodies in the physical form that I created, and one of them I appeared to you in the first century. And I've also created spirit bodies that I've utilised, multiple spirit bodies at the same time, that we've utilised to communicate with different people at different time in the spirit world once we reach the soul condition. So at the end of the day, you don't need the bodies, both spirit or material. Yes.
Cool. Okay.